How's it going? This is Mr. Chu with Bear Algebra. I introduced factor by grouping in an earlier video, and I asked you to do a couple of challenge problems. So here are the challenge problems. So challenge 1 says xy minus 5x plus 4y minus 20. So remember what you have to do here. The whole idea is you're taking two of them, grouping them together, trying to find if they have a common factor when you factor out the GCF. So, what does xy and minus 5x have? It's usually very simple. They both have an x. So I put that out in front and I reverse the distributive property. What do you multiply by x to get xy? That's pretty simple. It's just a y, because x times y, when you do the distributive property, will give you xy. What do you multiply by x to get minus 5x? You've got to have the minus sign there. Then you go to the other one. Well, here's my hint. I better have a y minus 5, or I've got to do something different to factor it by grouping. Well, I've got a GCF of 4. And then I say, what do you multiply by 4 to get 4y? That's pretty obvious. It's y. And when you multiply by 4 to get minus 20, it'd be minus 5. Well, look here. Boom. That is what I want. So anytime that I have the same thing here and here, I bring it out. And then what's left? Well, if I divide this by y minus 5, look what happens. Y minus 5 over y minus 5 is 1, and 1 times x is x. And remember, it has to be in another parentheses. And then if I divide this by y minus 5, and it'll get easier the more you do it. I multiply by what I factored out right here. Divide it by it. That cancels. And I've got a 4 here. And it's a plus sign here. And there's my answer. Did you get it right? I hope you did. So this is equal to this. And if you use FOIL or the distributive property to multiply this out, you'll see that it's true. Now what do I mean? Use FOIL to multiply that out. Well, this just gives you the checking method of using FOIL. So if I have y minus 5 times x plus 4, and I FOIL it out, I should get this original thing. First, y times x is xy. Outer, y times 4 is 4y. Inner, negative 5 times x is minus 5x. And then outer, or last, sorry, negative 5 times 4 is negative 20. Did I get the same thing? I sure did. These were just flipped around, but you can add or subtract in any order. See how all of the terms are the same with the signs? Now when I check challenge 2, I'll use a distributive property to do that. Okay, so you remember what you do here. First step is group the first two together and see if this is going to work. Now there could be a very rare case where that wouldn't work, but usually it doesn't matter which two you group together. I don't know that I've ever seen one where it mattered. Well, what do they both have? They both have an A. This is usually pretty easy to come up with. Not always. You may have to list all the factors like I did in my earlier video. What do you multiply by A to get AB? B. What do you multiply by A to get negative 2A? Negative 2 or minus 2. Now I have a common factor of 5 here. I can divide them both by 5. 5 times what gives me 5B? Well, it's going to be B. And this better be a minus 2. 5 times minus 2 is minus 10. Well, this is what I say. Boom, I got the same thing right there. So I factor that out. And if I take this and divide it by b minus 2, look what happens. b minus 2 over b minus 2 is 1, and 1 times a is a. And then over here, I take my 5 times b minus 2, divide it by b minus 2. B minus 2 over B minus 2 is 1, and I've got a 5 here, plus sign, plus 5. So you're saying, okay, well, but how am I going to factor or check that to see if that's correct? Because remember what this means. This means that this expression that has two binomials multiplied by themselves equals this 4-term polynomial. Well, let's just check it and see. If I take and multiply this using the distributive property, I take the b times the a plus 5, and then minus the 2 times a plus 5. And then when I do the distributive property in both of them, I should have that same 4 terms. The two middle ones may be in reverse order like this, but it's still the same terms. Well, I change minus 2 to plus a negative, and then b times a, it's going to be BA or AB. B times 5 would be 5b. Negative 2 times a is negative 2a. Negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. And plus a negative is the same as subtracting that number. So when I write this down, and you look at AB plus 5B minus 2A minus 10, the only thing that happened, the two middle ones are reversed. Because you can add in any order. So if this video was helpful to you, I'm hoping that you got them both right. If not, go back and see what you did wrong. You can also click in this bottom link here, which will be back to all of the different Unit 8 lessons. And up here would be the original lesson if you still need a little more practice. Don't ever forget that this is Bear Algebra. And remember, I'm Mr. Chu, and I want to help you learn algebra. I'll see you next time in the next videos. Have a great one. And you notice I'm wearing a tie. That's me wearing a tie. See ya.